Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the OpenText Live the OpenText Live webinar series. My name is Gretchen Wergis, and I am the Senior Partner Training Manager for OpenText Global Partner Program. And the reason that the Partner Program is part of this OpenText Live series is because we like to shine a spotlight on our solutions extensions partners that sell incredible solutions on our price book and bringing solutions to the marketplace and to you. So today we will be hearing from AnswerModules and the topic on on-site inspection processes with extended ECM and mobile forms, including offline. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone that we do record every webinar in our series, and you'll be able to find the links to the webinar on our opentext.com/events page. You'll also receive an email follow-up with a link to the recording, and we encourage you to share that with your colleagues and anyone else that might be interested in the content. But we also encourage you to reach out to us or respond to those emails at partners@opentext.com to let us know how you felt about the webinar, if you enjoyed it, what you liked about it, and also any other solutions or topics you'd like to see covered in a future OpenText Live webinar. If you have a question at any time during the webinar, we ask that you please put it into the Q&A panel, and we'll be able to answer those. If not during, we'll be able to answer those at the end of the presentation during our Q&A portion. All right, and now without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to Paolo from AnswerModules.
Thank you, Gretchen. Good morning, good afternoon, maybe even good evening for some of you. I'm Paulo. I manage the sales as well as the strategic alliances and partnerships here at AnswerModules. And with me today is also Patrick. He's our CEO and CTO. And today, essentially, what we want to showcase, what we want to focus on is how we can bring the capability of doing on-site inspections utilizing Extend ECM or Content Suite and leveraging mobile forms capabilities, and also how we can include offline capabilities in this overall scenario. So pretty interesting topic. I see that there's an interesting turnout for today's session. Now, before we begin, I have to leave this disclaimer up a little bit. As you can see, there's also our contact information, but we have that at the end as well, so no need to rush to jot it down. And with that, I think we can actually get started. So for those of you that don't know us, again, the company name is called AnswerModules. We are part of the Solex program, and we are focused on providing add-on solutions, high-value add-on solutions for the Extend ECM and Content Suite platform. Now, our solution is utilized worldwide by various different companies in various different industries, so spanning from oil and gas, energy, telco, services, healthcare, government, pretty much any industry out there, we have a customer. And that is because our solutions are essentially, cross-industry, to put it shortly. And we also have a obviously very strong relationship with OpenText. So we have been awarded several years as Solex Partner of the Year. We're platinum, multi-year platinum partner, and we've also been the first Solex Partner certified for OpenText cloud deployment. So this is both on VMs as well as containerized deployment. So essentially, our organization and our products are validated both by the market as well as by OpenText itself. The product that, or better yet, our flagship product is called Module Suite. And to put it very briefly, what it is, it's a framework with which customers are able to easily and efficiently personalize their platform to meet their needs, specific needs, but more importantly, create business solutions and business applications on top of the Extend ECM and Content Suite platform. So essentially, doing more with the underlying ECM platform, and doing more but with a reduced effort, because part of the solution is a set of different low coding tools. So this is why we define Module Suite as both an enabler for digital transformation as well as an accelerator for digital transformation. The use cases that have been implemented are quite various. So going from a simple approval process with some nice looking forms, some automated forms, all the way to case management or contract automation solutions. So either spot solutions or even end-to-end applications as well. But today, what we want to focus on is one of the capabilities that Module Suite brings to the table. And that is really the enhancement of the standard form framework that comes with CSP and Extend ECM. But more importantly, how Module Suite allows for forms to be utilized out on the field, even in offline mode, or in offline scenarios, if you will. So this is really the focus of today. Essentially, it's enabling those field workers to be able to have a truly 100% digital form on their device, and this form is an extended ECM or CSP form, but also how these workers are able to initiate and participate in digital processes, even though they are out on the field. So some of the key elements or key aspects, excuse me, of these type of scenarios is definitely that mobility component. So again, having the forms on a mobile device, utilized anywhere, even offline. And the way that we're able to accomplish this is by leveraging the Module Suite's say form capabilities, but as well as the Progressive Web Application Standard, so PWA, to really allow for these mobile friendly and offline friendly scenarios. And Patrick will explain a little bit more about PWA later on. Now, another very important aspect of these type of scenarios is the efficiency that these field workers are able to obtain by leveraging let's say the native capabilities of a mobile device. And here naturally we're talking about cameras, videos, GPS, etc. So all these tools that workers have at their disposal, and they can utilize this to gather and submit information as part of a digital process. And last but not least, and this is not only for this sort of scenario, but this is something that Module Suite brings, let's say, across the board, is automation. And in this specific scenario, what we are automating is really the generation of business workspaces once a form from the field is submitted, and then also the automated initiation of workflow processes, etc. So I think these are really the three key elements that we should look for during the demo from a, let's say, high level perspective, and this is really, some of the value that Module Suite can bring to the table for these types of scenarios. So what we have for today to show these capabilities is obviously a demo. And we are basing this on a maintenance or an inspection and maintenance process. And I'll get to the different phases in the next slides, but I just want to point out that there are three key actors in this demo process. So we have the actual inspector, he or she that obviously goes out and inspects machinery or whatever, maybe a train track. And they are the ones that actually initiate the process on Extend ECM. Then we have the manager. They are working out of an office, out of a field office, HQ, wherever, but they have access to Extend ECM, and they are the ones that are evaluating if some sort of maintenance work needs to be actually done, and subsequently assigns the task to an actual worker or to a team of workers. And then the third persona is the maintenance worker. And the process, their task is really having a task to accomplish, going out onto the field, having access to a mobile form, which indicates what needs to be done, maybe some accompanying documentation, and then documenting the work and essentially closing out the issue. So this is kind of the high level of overview of what the process is, and more importantly, the three actors that we'll be seeing. So to go into a little bit more of a detail. So phase one, the actual inspection. So where things start. So prior to going out to doing an inspection out on the field, while the inspector still has connectivity, so maybe they're in their office, maybe they're on the road grabbing a cup of coffee, what they do is they download the actual inspection form to their mobile device. Now, let's jump ahead and let's say they are out on the field, but they don't have connectivity anymore. So maybe out in the middle of nowhere, checking a power line. At that point, they can still utilize the form even in offline. And what they do is they access the form. Maybe they're walking along the power line, see that there's something that is wrong, and they document this. So they're utilizing the form, the actual text fields, they're utilizing the GPS coordinates, and they're utilizing the camera to record, this issue. But they're still in offline. Now, how are they going to submit when they're offline? Well, the data, the form is going to be preserved until the inspector has connectivity again. Once they have connectivity, they just sync that form and it goes back to extended ECM. So now that form has been uploaded to extended ECM with the push of one button. And here is where some of the magic from Module Suite takes place, and the automation capabilities. So when that form is uploaded and ingested on extended ECM, there's automation capabilities where we are creating a business workspace automatically for that, let's call it issue. And then we're also making the right associations for that business workspace, and we're kicking off a workflow. Now, as part of that workflow, the manager will receive a notification. They'll have access to a dedicated dashboard, again, built on the Smart UI utilizing Module Suite. And from there, they'll be able to evaluate what to do. And let's say that issue does need some maintenance work, some repair work. So the manager is going to utilize that interface and assign a maintenance task to a maintenance worker. And this goes into the next phase. Now, besides just, simply put, just assigning the tasks to a specific worker or team of workers, the manager could also upload or add some specific documentation on the piece of equipment or a standard operating procedure checklist or any sort of accompanying documentation that will be necessary or useful for the maintenance work to be actually accomplished. Now, the maintenance worker, the last phase, the first part is just like we saw in the inspector. So prior to going out to the field, they are downloading the form to their device. That form will contain the task that they've been assigned, as well as any documentation that is relevant to that task or that has been provided by the manager. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is this adding of documentation to essentially the form that the worker will be utilizing. That can also be automated as well. So if we for a specific type or piece of equipment or type of work, we can also have business rules where automatically we're adding specific documentation. Now, the maintenance worker, they go through the form, checks off the task, and also documents what they're doing. Again, utilizing the capabilities of the device. So again, video camera, photo camera, GPS, etc. And then once they're done, they submit the form, and this in our demo scenario, this automatically closes the maintenance issue, but this is just for our demo purposes. Here, what we could also potentially do is kick off some other processes, maybe a parts replacement order process, or information could be automatically updated on my other systems. So here, our imagination could go wild on what actually happens once the issue is resolved. But just for demo purposes today, we'll be closing out the issue. And with that, I think I'll leave the mic to Patrick.
Thank you, Paulo. So first of all, thank you to everyone for the time you are going to spend with us today. So what I am going to do is to drive you to the the demonstration part of this meeting. And what I'd like to show you is what Paulo just described, but in action. So what we have here is an extended ECM instance with Model Suite installed and a set of application implemented with Model Suite on. And well, again, today we are really focusing on the project inspection. So the process, as many other that will be implemented with Model Suite, has its own dashboard that allows us to govern the entire life cycle of the requests of the process that we are managing, process instances. And so basically, the example that Paulo described is a very simple process that is made of 3 phases. So we open a case, we assign the case, and the case is in progress, sorry, and the case then is automatically closed once the job and the task assigned is completed. So how we started, how we manage this information. So first of all, I like to highlight the fact that everything that you're going to see during this demonstration has been built with Model Suite. So even the dashboards in Smart View that have been created with Model Suite components. And the nice thing is that, as you will see later on in the demonstration, Model Suite comes with all the tools that allows you to create this kind of user experience and improve the user experience of your users without having to spend a lot of time in developing stuff and coding stuff, because basically Model Suite provides all the tools that are required to easily build this kind of interfaces and to provide automation related to the interfaces elements. So as we discussed, the idea here is that I have basically 2 personas. So we have the inspectors and we have the field workers. So they will be utilizing 2 different interfaces. So they are based on our form, and I have a link here to open this form. So I can click on inspection form, and you will see this is a standard web form. But as you probably can notice, so there is just a little difference in the way the URL is built for this form. So first of all, this is a regular web form created on extended ECM. So it's based on the standard web form framework that comes with the solution, okay? And what we do is just to enhance the user experience and improve it, providing additional functionalities. What it means is that every information that you're going to submit through this form, they will be stored in the standard content server tables, standard content server mechanism. So we are not basically take ownership of the data that you are managing, but what we are taking ownership of is the way you interact with your form and with your data. So this view in particular is, as I mentioned, is open and served by a different, typically a different path from the usual. And the main reason is because this form is exposed and offered to the end user in the form of a progressive web application. So progressive web application is an emerging standard. And what basically this standard allows you to do is to improve the user experience for the end user, allowing the browser to perform a lot of tasks itself and to cache locally a lot of the information that are required to properly work with the web application that you have created. Potentially, you can make so that the web application that you have created can even work while the connectivity is absent. So the web browser can sustain the application itself. And so this standard is absolutely well supported by all the browsers on all the platforms. You can tell this is a progressive web application because the browser detects it so, and what it does is to prompt you to install the application on your system. So on desktop devices, you will see them as a standard application or your desktop environment. On mobile devices, you will see them as application available on your mobile devices. And you cannot tell the difference between a native application and a progressive web application. So let's have a look at how this form looks like on a mobile device. So unfortunately, I'm not able to demonstrate it live with my iPhone, but what I did was to record it before this meeting. So shortly before this meeting, I recorded the usage of this application on my iPhone. And the reason I cannot show you the application live is because one of the main features that I like to demonstrate is the capability of the device to work offline. So if we open the inspection recording, so what you will see here is the user experience on my iPhone. So as you see, I have the application already installed. So the first time I opened the application, I opened it with the browser. So directly from the OpenText extended ECM web interface. And the system prompted me to install it as an application on my device. And this is what I did. From that moment on, I can see it as an application on the device. So what I'm going to do here is to open it. And what the system does when you open it is to fetch the information that you have attached to the application. So our web forms allows you basically to attach to the form itself a quite huge amount of data. So you can create the application that are independent from the server, because whenever they are installed on the system, they bring with them all the information that is required to work with them. So, and this is exactly what I did. So whenever the user synchronizes the application, so if the user is online, what the form does is to look to the most recent data and fetches it and bring it into the device. So what the user then can do is even going offline, as I'm doing right now, and then you can keep working with the application. So as you see, we have all the information related, for example, to our projects on the device. And so we basically exported together with the form a bunch of data that's now available offline on the device of the user. An important aspect is that this is not limiting significantly the capabilities of the web form. So every element of the interface, every rules that you have put in place in your form is still there. So for example, here we have created a dynamic form that progressively discloses the information that you are looking at. So first of all, ask you for selecting a project, and then prompts you to selecting a working area. And only after that, it will show you all the information that for that specific combination on project and working area is required. So whenever I fill in the second field, as you see, the form loaded automatically a bunch of additional fields. I'll show you later how these rules are implemented in the form builder. So the tools that I've utilized to create this application, it's super easy and extremely flexible. So what I can do right now is to keep on filling in the information. As you see, I am basically utilizing lookups with data that has been synchronized on the device. So keep in mind, again, in this moment, the device, it's working offline. So it's not that it's fetching the information. So I can provide all the information related to the issue. Specifically, this today I found in my office an old appliance that needed to be replaced. So what I can also do is to take a picture. So I can utilize the functionality of the mobile device, and I can take advantage of them even again when if I am offline. So what I'm doing right now is to take a picture with my iPhone of that old device that I found in the office, and so that I can document to my manager the reason why I need the replacement. As you've seen, so the attachment has been attached to the record. So while you're filling in the form, you're basically creating a local record, and to this local record, you can attach documents, you can attach picture, videos, recordings, whatever you need. You can access these attachments as you typically do with workflow attachments. And by the way, you can see here that I basically already have a record I was working on this device, and have the current record to which I attach the image. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to delete the previous record and focus on the current one. The attachment that I uploaded I have the possibility to rename them directly on the application. So when they will be uploaded on the extended ECM, they will have the right name, okay? So once I've done that, I can just save the record on the device. So from this moment on, the information is persisted on the device waiting to be synchronized back on extended ECM. And what I will be able to do now is bring back my device online, waiting for the Wi-Fi to kick in, and then I can just hit the synchronize button from the list of pending records to be submitted. And once the information will be completely submitted, we receive a acknowledgement from the application that the record has been submitted. Then the record will be removed from the device cache together with all the attachments. So where I am submitting to a dedicated endpoint that Module Suite provides you. So what you can do with the data that is submitted by an application implemented this way is really up to you. You can do the most complex thing. You can just persist the information and, for example, upload documents in a specific location of your system. You can start a workflow. You can route these documents, for example, send them by email to other users, sharing them with CoreShare if you have integration, send documents for signature with Core Signature if you have the integration in place, or as we did in this case, creating a new business workspace. So the business workspace will be created out of a template, and the documents will be automatically uploaded in the right place within this template. So I created a business workspace similar to the one that I was creating during the recording. So you can have a look at the business workspace as it got created on my system. Obviously, still in here, we have utilized the capabilities of Module Suite to tailor the user experience. So I can group all the information that are relevant. I can feature, for example, picture that was taken as part of the inspection, and I can offer the managers the possibility to easily assign this task to someone of the organization, okay? And again, the documents are stored in the proper position. So what I'm supposed to do now as the manager is just to assign the task. So what this is going to do, again, we are leveraging the automation implemented through Module Suite to reduce the number of interactions required to get the job done. So here we are performing a set of tasks that are basically assigning a new user to a specific role in the workspace, changing permission and creating additional content. But from my perspective, it will be just clicking a button, okay? So as you see, we have changed the metadata associated to the space. We have assigned new people to the roles. So now I have two roles. I was the reporter. Now I'm also the assignee. So everything was performed by Module Suite, and it was very transparent to the user. So if we go back to the dashboard, what we can see now is that the application, so the case basically, it's now in the second phase in progress. What we can do is at this stage, we can support our field workers with additional information that might be required to get the job done. So what I can do is, for example, go into the documents, and in here, in the issue report attachments, I can add additional information. So I can add that, for example, I don't know, the manuals for the device that needs to be replaced so that it can properly be substituted, etc. So I can add all this information. And we have the capabilities with Module Suite to bring all this additional information, as I mentioned, in the application that the user is going to utilize. So let me show you the second form. So the maintenance form, the one utilized by the workers. It's a pretty simple form. And again, you have all the information, and depending on the users that you have automatically synchronized in this case, the cases that you are supposed to work on. And again, this is a progressive application. So again, the system is prompting me to install the application on my device. Let me show you a recording of the worker working with the application. So what I'm going to do is to open this new recording. And again, the user experience is pretty much the same. So we have the application installed on the device. I can open it, and I cannot tell the difference between a standard application and an existing one. So this application was, this was the first time I used the application, and obviously it needs to fetch the information from the system. So I didn't pass the credential to the application, so it prompts me to the extended ECM credential, and then it fetches the information from the system. So now that the form is loaded, means that all the information is there. I can load the information for the task. I can synchronize all the documentation for the task on the device. And at this time, I can go offline. Okay. So now imagine I have the task at hand and all the documentation that is required for me to complete the job. And I no longer connected to the network. So what I can still do is to look at the documents. So I can look at the picture that was taken. I can look at the additional documentation that the manager provided me. And I can basically keep working on the form directly. So every aspect, as I mentioned, of the form, as you created it on Content Suite or extended ECM, is still valid here, still works. So obviously the form has validation in place. So you can define validation rules, simple validation rules or complex validation rules, doesn't matter. They will work the same online or offline. So in this case, we are looking at a required field. So in order to basically submit the record, I need to provide information about how I solved the issue. So and here again, I am providing this information. Keep in mind that being on a mobile device that has certain sensors, I can use them as part of the input. So it's fairly easy to get the GPS position, for example, and utilize this information and to submit this information as well as any other information that requires me to type something. So it's made no difference. So what I can also do here, keep in mind again that I'm offline, I can take a picture of the appliance that I utilized to replace the old one. Okay, so I'm basically upgrading from a Commodore 64 to a modern PC, and that's it. So now the document is made part of the, let's say, work package. Okay, and again, I can directly from the application, still when offline, rename the document so that when it will be uploaded, it will be uploaded with the correct name. What I'm going to do now is to, again, save on the device, so I can save the record also in order to work on it later on. So it's not really just to persist the information waiting to be synchronized, but that functionality can also be utilized if you have a task that you cannot complete in one single session. So you might need to save the work temporary and come back later to complete it. That is absolutely feasible. You just save the information on the device, you can come back later. And coming back later, what I did was to, again, bring back my device in online mode. I reopen the form and I look at the pending records. And these basically pending records, they can be synchronized. So what the system is going to do is to submit to the endpoint the information and the documents that I uploaded. And if I check it again, what tasks have been assigned, you see that the system automatically detects that all the tasks have been completed. There are no other tasks that I'm supposed to do right now. And so I can just close the application and move forward. And what happened on the system is that basically this in progress application moved to the closed part and to the closed phase, and we have all the information about the resolution displayed in the perspective together with the picture that was taken by the user. So how this application have been built, how you can configure them, as I mentioned, is actually a pretty easy task because it doesn't really require you to do much. So the only thing that you need to do is to create, as you always did, your forms, for example, your forms object, your form templates object on extended ECM, and through the usage of beautiful web form, you create a beautiful web form view. And what you do is with the form builder, you utilize the form builder to create the view that you want displayed to the user. And it is very transparent, as I mentioned. So for example, if you look at the work packages, you can see the visibility rules that prevent this field to be displayed unless you have specified a project ID and a working area. And you can see here that this widget takes its information from basically the device cache. So this is, you can imagine it to be the device cache, and we basically provide the information inside of this cache in the form of various variables that you can utilize in your widgets. And the only thing that you need to do in order to make it a progressive web application is to associate it to a progressive web application enabled template, so view template. And Model Suite comes with an example, is shipped with an example of it. And the other thing is to create an endpoint, again, cloning or copying the endpoint that you will find in the content script volume. And what the endpoint basically does is to define the characteristics of the application. So you specify the name, the short name, you provide a description, some information about the look and feel, and that's it. So from this moment on, the form is automatically exposed through that endpoint, so through this endpoint, as a progressive web application. And again, what you can do is to open it and work with it on different devices, as I've shown you. And with that, I think that we cover all the aspects of the say the demonstration that we want to provide you, and I return the word to my colleague.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Let me just bring up, let's say, the closing. So you should see again my slides. So Gretchen, I think we should open up the floor to the questions that came through the chat. Obviously, since I'm sharing my screen, I won't be able to read them off. So Gretchen, if you may help with that. Before we go into that, I just want to give, let's say, two communications. One is that obviously hope this was interesting, useful for everyone. But then also, if you'd like to see more or discuss this specific use case, we will be at OpenText World in Las Vegas. We'll be there physically at pod number 113. And then we also have some virtual content, specifically a virtual breakout on a contract lifecycle management solution for ExtendECM, which is essentially our first vertical solution that we're unveiling at the event virtually. So obviously, if you'll be there, feel free to stop by. More than happy to have a chat. And while we take questions, Gretchen, I just want to leave up our contact information. I manage, let's say, sales in EMEA, APJ, essentially the rest of the world that isn't North America. And my colleague, Joe Stewart, handles things in North America. So feel free to reach out to us or also to your rep, as OT rep as well, if there's any questions. And also one last item before going to the questions. We also, let's say today we saw kind of the tip of the iceberg of the capabilities of Module Suite. If you'd like to see more and some example use cases, I highly suggest going to showcase.answermodules.com. And as the name implies, it's a showcase of different capabilities and use cases as well. And with that, Gretchen, I'll leave it to you with the questions. I think Patrick will be answering the majority of them.
Okay, great. All right, first question. Which devices are supported, iPhones or iPads? And is there any difference in capabilities across iOS and Android? Any considerations for PWA?
So the PWA standard is well supported by most of the devices, so it doesn't really make much difference between iOS and Android. And so it's really a matter of having, let's say, a quite modern device. So I would recommend not try to use this, the first version of iPhone for sure. But if you have a recent device, PWA are typically very well supported. The limitation you have on, as I mentioned, the limitation is most typically related to the amount of data that you can store locally, but they are huge on both platforms. So both on iOS and Android, we are talking about several megabytes of the information, for some of the platforms, even gigabytes that can be stored inside of the application.
Next question. When we initially build a form that we'll use on a mobile device, is there any special configuration in web forms?
Well, again, you have to utilize the latest version of the library that is shipped with the form builder. So library version 5, that will be basically allow you to create a web form based on a responsive framework. So responsive framework works very well for creating interfaces that are very, let me say, complex on the client side and do a lot of the work at client side. As you might know, we build our library, our responsive library on Vue.js, which is a very well-known technology. And apart from that, the other things that you might want to do is to think about the layout that you want to utilize. So obviously on a mobile device, forcing, and I highlight forcing a multi-column layout, is not really recommended because of the dimension of the screen. But as you might know, our web forms are responsive by default. So unless again you force the multi-column layout, you're fine.
Question. Are there any use cases for PWA in traditional Office or PC settings?
Yes, definitely. In my opinion, the most common one is situation in which you might want to take your tasks offline, and you might want to be able to interrupt the editing session, and you want to be able to continue your editing session you want to span your task in multiple editing sessions. The other aspect to keep in mind is that one of the primary use cases for progressive application is to improve the user experience, because you have to think that a considerable amount of resources, so for example, images, the look and feels files, and part of the HTML that is automatically generated, they are no longer served by the server, they are served directly from your browser. So the usage that big companies do about progressive applications. So if you go, for example, on Twitter, the Twitter application is a progressive application. It's mainly for improving the user experience and making the user interface more responsive and quicker. So that is also a very good reason to think about leveraging that standard.
We have direct connectivity to extended ECM. Should we use PWA or stick with the usual Smart View tiles?
Again, it really depends on the use cases. If you want, and if you have the need to support use cases such as the one that we demonstrated, in which part of the work is done not having direct connectivity available, definitely go for that PWA.
And which versions of OpenText and Module Suite are being used for this demo?
If I remember correctly, ECM was 22.2, while Module Suite was 3.2.1.
Wait a moment here to see if we have any other questions. And while we're waiting, I'll just remind you that we do send out a follow-up with a link to the recording. You'll also be able to find that recording as well as all of our OpenText Live webinar recordings at opentext.live/events. There's a historical tab where you'll be able to see all those that have been recorded, as well as all of those that are coming up, and take a look there and see if there's anything else of interest to you. All right, I don't see any other questions. Patrick, if you want to, Paolo, want to say anything to wrap up?
No, just go on mute.
And you are muted.
Okay, sorry,
Oh.
the icon is still on mute. Anyways, no, I think we can wrap things up here. But again, my considerations are essentially three. If there's again more information that you like, or you would like to understand how these type of scenarios fit specific to your specific needs, then we can have a discussion. So again, feel free to reach out or through your rep. My other consideration is, again, take a look at Showcase. There are some very interesting business use cases that have been implemented with the module suite, again, on top of CSP and extended ECM. And these are coming from both customers, from partners, from ourselves. So it kind of gives an idea of the various capabilities that module suite offers. And again, last but not least, we hope to see you in Vegas, or contract lifecycle management is a topic you're interested in on XNDCM. Check out our breakout session during OT World. So with that, Gretchen, I think we can wrap things up.
Perfect. Thank you so much to Patrick and Paulo for your presentation today. We definitely value our relationship with AnswerModules and our solutions extensions partners. So thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you all for your attendance and your time, and we wish you a great rest of your day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.